I'll go back and I'll be sick.
How we
Correct.
can start doing things that not only become aware, but once you become aware, what can you do? So we've had several women that have talked about that too. But what I want to ask you as we go back into this, what made you start being such an advocate for domestic violence?
Well, what made me start is because myself, again, I repeat, I am a 9-year survivor. And that really came in my spirit as I was coming out of my situation to open up to others and let family know is to how can I make a difference? And my difference, God put it in my spirit for me to go out and tell my story, share it, and hoping that it helps someone else to open up and share theirs. I know that it won't help everyone, but I think that's where you start at. And that was good for me to do. And that's the reason why I do it. And I continue to do it. And as I say, I can't help everyone, but whatever way that I can get my story across and people hear it and receive it, then I know I have blessed somebody with something.
And the thing is, when you tell your story, and you said it's not going to resonate with everyone because everyone can't feel that peace. And that's why it's important for each of us that have a story to tell that piece so that we can reach more people. Even in a room of us, together, if everyone says what they need to say, everybody's going to touch a piece of everybody else's, but they're not going to be the same because just like people are different, situations are different, and things that happen were different with that. Welcome, yes. Melissa. Thank you for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening.
And so one of the things that we do, I have my tea. This time I have just regular old, I say regular old, simple, everyday, what is that? Green tea.
Right. And mine's is some peach tea. I still got it, and I'm kind of poured it in a little bit in the bottle. But it's some peach tea, you guys, and it's so good to me. I love it. It's soothing, okay? When I feel like I'm down and out, I need me some tea, some nice warm. And I'm in a cold place, okay, you guys?
That's what I've been saying. That's the thing about tea, and another reason that we want to continue to do these tea and gatherings, whether it's virtual, whether it's just sitting around talking, but because it is important to have these conversations that we're having.
Right.
And so what I want to do, Katrina, is to give you a moment for you to share with us a little bit about your story, and then we'll come back and ask you some questions if that's okay.
That's fine. Yes, ma'am. So a little bit about the story of Katrina Thomas is that I was raised by my auntie and my uncle, and that was up in Long Island, New York. And I was a woman who was placed there because of situations with my parents. They did not raise me. So therefore, my auntie took me in just to be that person to raise me and, make sure I have that good upbringing. And that succeeded, and that went well. But what ended up happening is that as me being young, I was actually 4 when I went to them. I never told them anybody my age that I was when I was there. I was 4. And everything went well up until I got in my teens. And as I said, they gave me everything that a girl could have. But not having that mother and father figure, it just really put me in a space where I could not really receive love because I felt like they abandoned me and they didn't want me. So I kind of placed myself in distance with anybody else in my family. My auntie was the type of person, she was known in the neighborhood, so she would have card games and things like that at her house. So a lot of people that came to the house were friends, and if they were friends, we still considered them family. And as I grew into my teenage years, I was well developed, and there were a lot of men around the house. And they tend to talk to me as if they were like big brothers and things like that, of that sort. But what substantially happened is that somebody, took advantage. I became one of the girls who I would talk to one of the guys, and we were really close. And I thought he was like a brother. And I left one day to go to the store. My mom, she didn't mind if I rode with him because, evidently this man was close to my family. So they didn't think anything of it. Even if I was going out of place and I wasn't where I was, where my mother saw me, she wasn't going to be upset. They said, well, she left with so-and-so. Even though I left with him and went to the store, we were talking, we were laughing and giggling at one point in time. Then once we got a little further out, I was like, I thought we were going to the store, but we did not end up going to the store. So as we kept driving and driving, I was like, well, where are we going? I thought we were going to go to the store. Didn't go to the store, you guys. Car stopped in a dark place and pulled over to the side. And I was asked to get into the back. And being that this person was a close family friend, I thought nothing of it. But then I was like, wait a minute. I'm old enough to know he's way older than me, and I'm a teenager, a young teenager. Why am I being asked to get in the back seat? And I said, well, no, I don't think I should get in the back seat. I said, I thought we were going to the store because we were going to get something, and then we're going to go back to my mom's house. And he said, no, I want you to get in the back seat. And I kept refusing until the whole situation just changed, you guys. His whole facial expression, everything changed with him. And he said, get in the back. So when I saw his face change, I said, this is not the same person that I've been talking to. So I got in the back. I said, well, maybe if I do what he said, he's not going to bother me or nothing's not going to happen. But when I got in the back, he got out the car, shut his door. Then he came into the back of the car and he shut his door and sat next to me. And I was looking at him and I was like, well, what are we going to do? I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, why am I back here? And I said, I thought you were my friend and you're a good friend in the family. Why am I back in the back seat with you? I was like, I don't understand. He told me, you don't need to understand. That's that. I don't need you to understand anything. All I need you to know is that right now you're going to be with me. Instantly, I started crying. I started feeling like, what is going on? Because this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I said, well, no, don't do that. He moved over closer to me. And as he moved over closer to me, I was like, okay, what can I do? I went to go turn around actually and grab the lock to unlock the door, but I couldn't. I couldn't unlock the door. And I said, okay, I can't unlock the door. He looked at me. He said, no, I need you to lay down in the seat. Lay down. I said, no, but you're my friend. Why am I laying down in the seat? No, I need you to lay down in the seat. So as I did, as he said, I lay down on the seat. This man proceeded to climb on top of me. I was crying, begging him not to do anything to me. This is not what I wanted. You're not my age. I'm still young. At this time, actually, you guys, I was not even having sex. So I continued to do what he said do. He continued to push me down. He started to fondle me. And I said, oh my God, this is really going to happen to me. He's really going to go on top of me and he's going to have sex with me. And he said, and he started to move his hands up. And I said, no. I said, please, please, please don't hurt me. I said, why are you doing this to me? I never did anything wrong to you. Why are you doing this? He didn't care. You guys, he started to put his hands over my mouth. He lightly started choking me a little. And he said, you're going to be mine. I said, wow. All I could do was cry, you guys. All I could do was cry tears. This is someone I trusted. And as he started doing that, he was just fondling me, just doing things that I have never had done to me. Because again, I can't repeat enough. I was not sexually active. He started to put himself harder and push and fingers. And I was like, no, screaming and crying. And I said, no, don't do this. He said, you're going to get this. You're going to do this. I look at you all the time and I see you walking around the house. And no matter if you saw me walking around the house, I've never tried to entice you. But all the while, he must have felt like that about me, but I never felt like that about him. I felt he was just a friend and he cared about me like a little sister. So eventually he started sexually having sex with me. He didn't care how I felt, crying, screaming. He didn't care not one bit. He didn't care. And I mean, this wasn't like it was an easy sexual thing. He was just very harsh, very hard on me, a child who did not have sex. So I felt like I was bleeding in the process and sore, and he wouldn't even stop. And I screamed and I screamed and I screamed. I said, please stop, get off of me, trying to push and tug and scratch and get him off me. He would not do it. He would not do it. All I could do was lay there as he took advantage of me. And every time I thought maybe if I closed my legs or something, maybe he would not continue, or maybe it would stop him, or it would ease the pressure on me. It did not do that. He would just push me and push my legs further apart. He would just go harder and harder. And I just screamed. I just screamed and cried. And I can say the whole process probably lasted about an hour, probably about an hour, or maybe a little bit over an hour. And me as a girl, nobody don't know that I left the house. If you guys remember me saying that from the beginning, I left, but still, if they saw me come back with him, they wouldn't think anything of it. My mother wouldn't. So when the whole thing was over, he said, put your clothes back on. I said, I was crying. I said, oh my God, I can't believe you just forced yourself on me. And I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say. I said, and I'm going to tell my mother. He automatically jumped in my face and started cussing me out and saying, if you ever say anything to your mother or your uncle, I called my auntie, my mom. He said, if you ever say anything to them, I will hurt you. Okay. I said, I understand that, but what I'm saying to you is that you doing something to me that I didn't ask you for this. I didn't ask for this. He said, you just get your ass in the front seat and you don't have to worry about saying nothing. You just go home. So as I sat in the front seat, I'm still crying, you guys, devastated at what happened, trying to fix my clothes and make myself look right. And no matter how I looked or anything, he didn't care. He was happy. He had the radio on, you guys, and like nothing happened. And I'm sitting over here shaking, trembling, and like, what just happened? He didn't care. Then when we got to the house and pulled up and I got out, I went inside. And when I went past, we had the kitchen here. Then when you go past the living room. That's where everybody was sitting in there playing cards. They played cards in there. My mom saw me when I went past, but she didn't see that I was upset or anything. So I went in my room and I locked my door and I sat on my bed crying. Because I said, oh, my God. And I actually was. I've never went this deep in my story. I actually was bleeding because I had never had sex before. And that's why I said it really hurt. And I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell my mama why I'm bleeding? Because it was just so devastating to me. And for me not to have a mother, my biological mother there to talk to, or any father to talk to who was my real father, I couldn't tell nobody. I had to go growing up like that, not saying anything. And when this man came over, he still looked sex for me because we had like an extra room in the basement of this house. And he would ask me to go down there and he would do the same thing, you guys. I mean, he didn't care. Just as long he knew he had the trust of my parents, my auntie and my uncle, who were my parents. He knew he had to trust in them, so he did that. So all it made me do was get into a shell in life where I just carried myself, didn't care to love anybody else, nor did I want anyone to love me. I just wanted to be this woman where, hey, I know I can use my body and everybody can get what they want from me. So I grew up with this attitude as if I could just use my body sexually to get anything that I want. And I didn't have to worry about nothing. But all the while, I was broken and tore up and didn't know how to communicate anything or my feelings to anyone. I was going through angry periods where I'm always angry, cussing out folks, not listening to anybody. I was very disobedient, even though my aunt was the best to me. I loved her because I knew she didn't have to take me in, but I still couldn't tell her because I felt even if I told her, she wasn't going to believe me because this is someone that she's known for years. So I never said anything. People, they said, well, you would walk around the house and your mom didn't ever know you wasn't missing. Back then, you have to remember, you guys, back then in those old days, these families thought they trusted people in their house. They trusted people to walk around their house because they knew each other. My neighbor across the street, if I did something wrong, she would tell my mother, and my mother would tell her she could discipline me. So this was like, this whole block was like family. So it wasn't like my mom was going to say, well, definitely you did this and I believe you right off the top. So I never said anything. And to this day, I regret that I never said anything, because I tortured myself and I stayed in the dark and I blamed myself for every single moment of that and all of those actions going on with him. And I was so terrified that I was timid to every man that ever came in my life after that. Anybody from family, I didn't want anybody near me. I stayed very distant, very quiet, very standoffish from everybody. I didn't open up to anybody. Even the person that I love so much, my auntie, rest in peace, I didn't open up to even her. So this whole life that Katrina had as a teenager, I just went through it until I ended up going home for summers, where I would go home to my biological parents, but I was with my grandparents. And then from there, they would, see me. And I really wanted that father and daughter connection with my dad. And I loved him dearly. So, I didn't want to stay away from him. So I decided I'd start spending weekends over there. Remember, this is still a girl who's lost, but I feel like if I get my daddy in my life and he gets close to me like that, well, maybe I can open up to him and start to tell him what's going on. And he can be that dad that I've always wanted him to be there for his daughter. I felt like that was happening. But my dad was the same type of person. He had a lot of people in his house. He always had company, and he would do whatever he's doing, so it was basically the same situation, but in a different area. So I didn't feel like I did anything differently. I just felt like, well, I just changed from one place to another, and it's the same situation. So later on, it just came down to where I bumped into the same situation again. The same situation again, just a little more horrifying. And being tied up, mouth tied, everything just choked, tied by my hands, my mouth tied, my legs tied, and taken advantage of again, the second time, you guys, by a grown man. And you can't say nothing. You can't say anything. Because when somebody, maybe other women, their stories are different from mine, but I couldn't say anything because both situations was the same thing. If it's someone close to your family, who gonna believe you? Who is gonna really believe you? Everybody's gonna say, oh, she's too grown, or she's this, or she's too shapely, or she's walking around like this. But I wasn't that type of female. I was very quiet and very much to myself a lot of times. So in other words, when this happened again, what'd it do? It broke me down again. I've had so many situations over my lifetime of wanting to take pills and end my life because I had no one to open up to. I had no one to, where most people might have a best friend and feel like they can confide in them. I didn't have any of that. So I held all of this stuff for years and never said anything. My own sister, my oldest sister, she was mad at me when I finally said something, but I still kept things to myself. And then when you come along into your adulthood, you think, okay, well, I learned from my mistakes and I'll learn how to do things differently, and maybe I'll direct myself in different actions. But then when you find out later down the road and you get with a guy, you think he loves you, he shows you that love. I try to open up again, and I do open up, and I try to love. And then when I do subject myself to open up to loving someone, this is where the 9.5 years came in of abuse.
Katrina, before you start that part, I don't want to stop you, but I just want to kind of go over something because you have two different segments. And one of the things I want to talk about within that is, one, you mentioned something that once this happened to you as a teen,
yes, ma'am,
you thought, okay, well, this is the way you didn't feel like you was worthy a lot. And so you decided that you could use your body to get things.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I wanted to bring that out because oftentimes we see young girls out there, and I've heard it as I grew up, and I hear women talking, and they say, you know, she's so fast and she's so this and she's all that, but nobody is stopping to wonder why.
That's true.
And so I wanted to talk about that, to say um, that this is happening to our young girls, whether they're in the church or they're not in the church. Things are happening to them, and they're dealing with it the only way they know how to as a child.
Yes.
And on the outside, we may see, well, she's fast, she's hot, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the kids are calling her thought, um, and all these things, and nobody is saying what happened to Katrina, what made
Exactly.
Katrina start doing this. And so I wanted to bring that out and ask you with that. And yes, Doretta said the judge, and they don't ask the question to the girl, you know, just talk about her.
Mm-hmm.
So as for that, what would you tell that young girl that has been through the things that you've been through, that are not telling? What do you suggest that they try, or what do you suggest for them at that point?
Okay. I would suggest that you do talk and try to find someone to talk to, even if it's a close friend or if it's somebody outside of your family, because I feel like there is somebody that you can go to. But me, I felt like it was nobody I could go to. But personally, now today, I tell people, that's why I say shatter the silence in a lot of things that I say, because when you keep silent, that's when you really break. You put yourself more into the situation, and you put yourself in more darkness, and you shut down more and you break down. I don't advise anybody to hold it in and not say anything. I reach out to somebody, reach out. I don't care if it's a friend or if it's a coworker, reach out to somebody, because once you reach out, you're starting to that process of opening up to letting somebody know what's going on. Because when you keep yourself closed in, there's nobody, you know, like you said, there's nobody who's going to just look at you and say, oh, Katrina's been raped. She's been assaulted by this grown man. You know, like you said, people, older people are so good to say, she's so fast, like you said. She's fast. She's grown. She like to dress this type of way. But I was none of that. You understand? And
Right.
but today in this world, what I see around me with young kids, they do dress a certain way. They do act a certain way. And they are a little growner than I was when I was coming up.
Right.
And they dress differently. So this is why I said men interpret things differently now because of how the teenagers look and how they carry their self, and they're built differently than when we were built back then. So to me, yes, you need to open up and tell somebody. Don't don't put yourself in that position anymore to not say anything. You have to open up and say something to somebody, even if you say something to that somebody and that somebody take us to someone who can
Somebody
help
else.
you further. Yes. And see, I didn't do none of that. So that's the reason why I suffered for so long and walked that path of doing what I did, because I didn't have anyone that I could turn to. And then I was in that time frame of where I was going to be called, I'm fast.
Right. Right.
I'm fast and I'm doing something to entice a man when I wasn't doing anything to entice a man. I look at 16-year-olds now when I'm walking down the street and I say, God, she look like she's 21.
That's all them steroids and that milk. But
Okay.
I just wanted to bring it to, and then, you know, now there's a lot of different avenues out there. Like I
It
know
is.
we have an 800 number, you know, you can call a crisis line. They
That's
now
right.
have teen crisis lines. Some of
Yes.
the teen programs have also opened teen chatting, so they can
Yeah.
do live chats. They can do, you know, hit them up on Snapchat, different
Yes.
things that they can do that teens are that's available for them now that were not even available for you then. You know,
That's
they
right.
all have a phone nowadays. They have a phone in their hand. There's no reason not to tell, because there's somebody you can tell somewhere on that phone.
That's right. And see, cell phone wasn't as popular back then when I was growing up the way it is today. So it's a lot of
Right.
things that's changed now that we're in the 2000s. You know, we're talking about in the 80s and things. We wasn't into technology like that back then. But now you have all different ways of contacting somebody and to putting that out there. And again, like in my organization, I have a teenager named Jarvis J. Scott, and he's my youth advisor. And when I tell you, he can get to the teenagers more than I can because they can relate to one another. And that is why I put a youth advisor into my organization, but to reach the teens. I can reach them, but who is better than a teenager themselves?
Right.
Who sees what goes on in the schools, who sees what goes on around them. And when I tell you, he can preach and he says some very good things, and he's nothing but 17, you guys. That's a blessing. And I tell him all the time, I said, Lord, I thank God for you every day because he is making a very big difference in my organization with the teenagers.
And that's what I remember you telling me about him, and I knew you were doing some work with the teens. So I just kind of wanted to work that segment in.
Okay.
Before we got too far to the next spot. So I'm going to let you finish with the rest of your story. But I just wanted to bring that out and kind of give some advice to the parents, you know, to ask your teens if you see something different, if you see them go from, like you said, you're being quiet and now all of a sudden, you know, you're being
angry.
You're angry, you're snapping when you shouldn't, you know, you need to check your attitude. We need to check on them.
Right. And you need to, I mean, being with today, 2018, check your child's Facebook page, check who they're talking to, who their communication is with. You have to do this with your child, especially our daughters, because there's a lot of girls. I just want to throw this in here quickly. There's a lot of girls on Facebook, and there are men that's searching out weak young girls to trap them into certain situations. So, you know, as parents, you know, mothers and fathers, watch your kids and watch their actions of their daily actions. Don't just leave them unguarded on doing things and just not watching and paying attention, because sometimes a blind eye, a lot of things can go through and out.
Yeah, because that, you know, and I was one of the biggest ones. I was not going to get Snapchat, but working with teens, I have to. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, they're sliding off Facebook because the mamas are on there. So you're going to have to go where they are. You're going to have to learn how to use that technology. So when you pick it up to check it, you know what you're looking at.
Right. And, you know, there's no look to domestic violence. And a lot of people think you have to look a certain way. You don't have to look no certain way. I mean, I go to church and I'm pretty sure it's probably about 15% of them women in there that's abusive, but they sit next to their husband like everything is all good.
Yep.
Okay.
They sure are.
Okay. But, you know, back to, you know, the adulthood, and I'm not going to make it too long for you guys. The adulthood part was that I just went through adult life like that as well, being broken and not having anyone to talk to. So a lot of times I felt myself like I was disconnected, not just with the world, but with myself as well. And I went to church and things like that, but going to church didn't mean nothing to me at that point in time, because if I was lost and I didn't even know what God was or what he meant and what he could mean to me in my life, how could he save me, or how could I even receive him? So I just continued to walk through that darkness for years. And when I did finally think I found that perfect person, you know, I think I'm like every girl that might be like today. I'm looking at the outer exterior, you know, what you look like, how you dress, what you drive. And that's what catch a lot of young girls today. And that was that type. But I looked and said, well, you know, he's doing some nice things for me and this and that and that. We dated. And I think I moved fast by moving in with him and thinking that he was going to do all this and that for me. It was good for a good year, probably. It was maybe a little beyond a year. But what ended up happening is that, you know, I was misled in a lot of things. I didn't know he had so many children. I didn't know so many different baby mamas. You laughing, but I mean, to me, I didn't do my homework like I tell people to do now. I didn't do my homework, so I found out about 3 baby mamas. It just became a whole big disastrous situation. So as I started to talk and started to speak my mind, I started getting some actions for speaking my mind, you guys. You know, it got to the point where I couldn't dress the way I wanted to dress. If I was with him, I wasn't even recognized as a girlfriend. And, you know, then it just came one day when I said something, you know, about one of the children. Oh, there you go. That was the first smack. I should have walked away then. I didn't know, because I had already fell hell over heels and just loved him to death, and I didn't want to go nowhere. But it really led into a life of, oh my God, just disaster. I mean, from home to work to bed. He smacked me. He would drag me down the steps. He didn't want me to discipline his kids, but his kids were disciplining me every day. Every day. So we're talking about verbal, emotional, mental abuse, not just from the man, but from the sons. The daughters loved me to death, but the sons were just like the father, constantly abusing me. I could never tell them anything to do. I had to even fight the sons, call the police. The police were at my house a lot of times because of what I was going through, and, my mom, just her being concerned, and I'd be on the phone and she would hear me getting hit. She would call the police from up here in DC, where I am right now. And, that's devastating when you in a relationship, you not just having problems with a man, but with the sons. So to me, I would come and go to work covering up my face with makeup, and I really don't wear any type of makeup, maybe lipstick, eyeshadow. Back then, I didn't even wear that. So I was going to work covering up all of this and making excuses. And, people, my coworkers would see that I'm acting different and I didn't really talk. And when he would come in the door, they said, well, we see you look some type of way when he come up here. But he would come to my job to make sure I was at work, make sure I'm not talking to anybody. So I had no open key. When I got with him, all connections with my family, I didn't even see my family like I used to. I was isolated. It was like I was just in his little box. I couldn't talk to nobody. If I was on the phone, he was right here next to me listening to my conversation, from my mama to whoever I was talking to. He was always right there listening to everything. And if I said something wrong, as soon as I get off the phone, there we go. We fighting again. We'll start our arguing. The next thing, he's pushing me. Next thing, he's punching me. Then one day it got so bad, you guys. He really thought I was being so disobedient to his children. And you don't say nothing to my children. My children do what they want in this house. This their house. I said, this is my house, and I'm supposed to be the woman of the house. So I said, how am I going to give control to the children when I'm the woman of the house? I should be the second one in line, just like you are. The first one, I come right behind you. No, that wasn't true. So I disciplined his children for doing something downstairs, washing dishes, and somebody broke a dish or something. I said, you're going to clean it up. I went upstairs. I was mad because he got mad with me saying something. When I went upstairs and laid on the bed, this man jumped on top of me, choked me almost to my last breath. I could hear myself gasp for air. He was choking me that hard. And I said, oh my God. And I was screaming for it. And I was trying to kick and fight to get him off of me. But he was big, stronger than me, of course. And I was littler then. So I was like, I can't get him off of me. Then when he finally seemed like I was going to take my lap rest, he let go. I turned over. This man bit me in my head like a dog. Bit me in my head. And I said, oh my God. I said, you literally, bit me right in the middle of my head. I still have that mark in my head to this day, and I had to get stitches in my head. You guys, when I say shatter silence is so very important to me, because I said nothing to my family or anybody. So I stayed in this relationship for 9 years. And this man treated me like that the whole entire time. I was pushed around. I was locked in the room. I was told, don't come out the room. I was just always controlled. I could not say anything to anybody. If I said anything, I was going to get beat even more. I've had black eyes, and you see that I'm light skinned. I would put makeup on to cover everything. I would get smacked. I had one time I defended myself and threw some some hamburger helper I was making and the sauce part. And I said, I'm going to defend myself today. And I threw that in his face. Oh my God. When I did that, he came charging at me and I had to run up the steps. He grabbed me by my legs and pulled me all the way down the steps. I'm talking about my face was all messed up on this side, and literally to add to everything. And what I tell now, my youngest son that is 26, I feel like he saw a lot of that. He saw a lot of that went on between him and I. And I think that has a lot of effect on him with relationships to this day. And that's why I always talk to him so much. But me, I feel like my time and point where I felt like I was tired of being tired, I was at the grocery store in a parking lot going to the car with my groceries. And I finally met a pastor, was Pastor Dale and Pastor Tia. And that was my key. I saw that as my key to get away. I started to go to church on a regular basis, and he would see me sitting out there, and he would see me in tears, and he just said, what's wrong? And I started to talk because I needed someone to talk to, you guys. I needed someone badly. I've went years and never talked about the earlier stuff. And I started opening up and telling them about it. And that was my key to help myself, which I started going home. And even though I was still enduring all this hitting and smacking and kicking and being talked to like I was a dog, and humiliated in front of kids and family, anytime that he felt it was available to make me look like a fool, he did it. So I started reading my Bible and just preaching and to myself and trying to build up my self-esteem until I got to the point where I have to go back a little bit. I left a couple of times and came back when I love you, I'm sorry, and I go back. So I know about the part of going back, you too. Back and forth, you guys. You are going to go back more than once, more than twice even, because you love that person so much. Your heart is with them so much that you can't believe that they don't love you. You really see this as love. And I can't say it enough. We do see it as love. And you can't just judge that person and say it's easy to go, because it's not easy at all. It wasn't easy for me. It took years. I sit now and I tell people 9 years, that's a long time to endure that, but I did. And when I was wise enough and I got into the word, and I talked to my pastor, and I got to know myself again. And I said to myself, I had to really convince myself to change my mindset on how I needed to be treated and how I had to love me first. And stop giving my love to everybody else and putting them before myself. I literally had to say that to myself, sis. I had to say, love you, Katrina. Love you. Because if you don't love you, how can you help yourself? And that is where everything came about with loving yourself no more. Abuse started coming into that right there, into play, even while I was in my situation, because I said, I have to do something. And it became an outlet for me to fix myself too in the process. So I love me enough to say enough was enough. One day I walked out. I didn't care about nothing being in the house, no materialistic stuff, no nothing. I just walked out with the clothes on my back, you guys, and I never turned back because I knew I had to save me. If I didn't save me, all these stories I hear about people being killed, I could have been them. But I chose me and I chose God. And that's what makes me who I am. That's what loving yourself no more abuse is about. Then I got contacted with people like my co-director, Merriman, who I love so much. And when we connected, we got this loving yourself no more abuse on a whole different level. And I don't, I don't look at, numbers and things like that. I look at my heart. This is from God. This is not even about my story. This is about what God put on me to do for someone else out here. It's not about me. It's about others. It's about giving back. It's about having love. It's about having compassion for others. It's about you can't just be about self-worth. And I'm not about self-worth because I put myself on a back burner. But when I put myself on a back burner now, it ain't for no man. It's for God and it's for the mission. Amen. I tell you, sometimes I get to preach and sis, I'm sorry. It's just how I feel. And I laugh because I have to lighten the atmosphere when I'm talking about my story, because that makes me feel good, because the whole subject is that you have to see your self-worth. You have to. If you don't see your self-worth, there's nothing that anybody can do for you. Not me, not my sis, not anybody. There's nobody who can do anything if you can't recognize the situation yourself and say, I'm tired and I need to go and reach out and speak out and step out.
And that's true. And that's the thing. And the reason I wanted to let you go ahead and say all that is because people that have been through half of what you've been through
mm-hmm.
are not able to cope with the reality that they dealt with it. They're continuing to blame themselves. They're having to get all kind of prescriptions from the doctor. And I know the doctors are good. I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying that there's a way to cope through those things if you can learn to love yourself and put
Yes.
your faith back in your spiritual guidance, whether it's God or however you feel, nature or
Mhm.
whatever makes you, get in touch with the higher power.
Right.
But the first part is you got to learn to forgive yourself.
That's
You got to
right.
learn to love yourself and to believe in listening to that higher power.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
so that's why it works for you. That's why
That's why.
you've been through what you've been through and still able to give back to others.
Yeah.
As we talked about in my program in 3B Sunday night, you can't pour from an empty kettle. And I know people, like I said, talk about empty cups, and I talk about my teacups, but those of us that are trying to get our message out to the masses, we don't need a cup. We need a whole kettle. We're trying, we need our teapot full,
Mm-hmm.
and God says that if we do this, he'll pour us out blessings. We won't have room enough to receive it.
That's right.
And so we need to continue to do these things. And that's why I wanted to hear about that. So before we go, we don't want to hold them past our time, but there's one more thing I want to ask you about. What are
Okay.
you doing in DC Saturday morning, early in the morning?
Ooh, thank you, sis. I will be doing Shatter the Silence. It's a domestic violence walk. It is the State Park of Maryland, Stanley Johnson. And I'm telling you, this is my second year doing this event, and I am so glad. These people love me, and they invite me back every year. I mean, even though I be walking and out of breath because I ain't young no more.
But
5K.
you're walking.
But I'm walking it. Look, walk it like I talk it. I think that's a song people sing. I'll be walking and talking myself and convincing myself I can go across that line. I may be not the first, but I'm gonna be somewhere in the middle. And I
All
love
right now.
Yes, and I praise God for everything and every door that opens, even like you, sis. Thank you for this opportunity as well. I love you so much. But yes, Shatter the Silence. If you're in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, 7:30 to 10:30, go on Eventbrite and go register. Come on, come walk with me. You can convince me to make it over that line maybe first.
Just push it a little bit more. Go, Katrina, go. Go, Katrina.
Go. Yes, let me get my little cheerleading squad over there. But this is what I love. I go all over. I go to North Carolina. I go to places and I talk because if I don't talk, how can I get my message across to anybody if I don't open my mouth? You got to open your mouth, people. You got to speak. You got to speak what you're feeling. You got to tell what you're going through. Your story may be just what helps one person to make it through their storm.
That's right. Well, I thank you for that. I just wanted to share that in case someone is in the area and they need something to do early in the cold morning.
Bring your jackets. Bring your jackets. Watch and see when y'all see me on Go Live. I'm gonna be bundled up. I'm telling you.
Earmuffs and all.
I don't like the cold weather.
So you're gonna be headed back to Georgia real soon.
Yes, I will be. I will be. I will definitely be back. I love it there, and I can't say anything more. I say, you guys, this much. If you love yourself, do what's best for you. Always put God in the picture, because without God, we're nothing. So please always put him into your life in some type of way. We are nowhere near perfect, but God accepts you any way that you come to him.
All right. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us, whether you're catching us on the live or if you're catching us on the replay. Thank you. Thank you. Share this out into your communities. If something here touched any part of you, share this into your community, because you don't know how many women can take this and run with it and need it to help them get past and get to their next. Also, I want to invite you, if you have not already done so, to register for our breakdown, breakthrough, and build up program we're doing. It is a free coaching program that I'm doing on Sunday nights. If you go to bit.ly, that's bit.ly/3B with Andrea. And what you will get is you will get a nice teaching and some collaboration with some people, almost like a support group, mastermind, going through, helping you get in your breakthrough and build up where so you can get to your next. If you're having problems growing and glowing and you can't figure out what it is because you got your money straight, you got your business straight, and something just isn't right, this may be it. So please join us bit.ly/3B with Andrea. Katrina, tell us a little bit about Sunday night. What did you get from that?
Oh my goodness, when I say that, it's so empowering. I love that with Andrea. I got a whole bunch of stuff about panic attacks and all good kind of things and how to get over and how to open up to telling, she gave us like a to-do list. So I got some homework even while I'm here. She gave us a to-do list, and I love her so much. I think this is even going to help me, because don't think because I'm over and I got away and I'm doing what I'm doing, that doesn't mean that you still don't have triggers, you understand? And things still can't tend to come in and bother you. We're not perfect. So this is something you guys should definitely get involved with Miss Merriman, because I'm telling you, I felt awesome when I got off that phone with her. My to-do list is right there on my desk at the house.
So did you get more than you expected?
I got more than I expected. I really did, sis. I thought to myself, wow, I said, this is amazing. She giving me a to-do list. I put this on the right-hand side, this on the left side. And then you put it all together and mix it around. And you find out what's really going on with you, because even as speakers, we can still have triggers.
Yes.
And issues.
Well, I just wanted to invite everybody again. Thank you for joining me for TN Pearl's virtual event. I'm Andrea Merriman, your creative harmony coach, master domestic violence help coach, and my very special friend, Katrina Thomas. And we tell you hope and harmony to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Katrina.
Bye, sis. God bless you.
Bless you.
Okay.